when you own a small business, especially in the service world of what we do, the owner has a stranglehold on that business. No matter who it is, they think nobody can do it like them. Nobody is going to be invested in your business more than the person who started it.
100%.
It's physically impossible. If you're operating that at 100% and you get a guy who can do it at 75 or 80, now all of a sudden you start getting 3 guys and 4 guys and you train and coach them and you kind of set the guidelines of how you want things to be done. They're never going to be as invested. They're never going to wake up as early. They're never going to stay as late. They're never going to be financially, mentally, and physically invested in the business as you. But they can still be great people, great employees, great members of your team, and hopefully work for you forever. That production is still pretty goddamn good. Welcome to the Royal Flush Podcast. My name is John Overy, the VP of Sales here at Royal Flush. In this podcast, we cover the ever-growing ins and outs of our state-of-the-art pipelining company. Specifically in this episode, Kyle and I sit down and talk about the old adage of taking off or biting more than you can chew. I vehemently disagree with this. I want you taking bigger bites every minute of every day, personally and professionally. So stay tuned, have a listen. I think you might agree with me.
Welcome back to the Royal Flush Podcast. I'm Kyle McShane here with John Overy. And in today's episode, I think we're back to the cliche phrases. I feel like they just make for a good conversation topic. And
I like that everybody knows them.
Yep.
And you can probably relate to one point in time in your life where you might have said it.
Yeah.
And my thought really is maybe we can give you like a little different perspective on that topic or phrase, or certainly how it applies to us. So I think this is cool. I think we're going to run with this and probably pick some more topics
Definitely.
of these kind of old-fashioned cliches and tell you our feelings, our thoughts, and how they apply to us in our business and personal life. And I think people are going to enjoy it.
Yeah, definitely. I think, like you said, it's pretty universal. Everyone knows the phrases. So, and there's probably about 1 million cliches that we could just kind of riff off of. Today's, and like the last one, you have a contrarian view.
Always.
Is that the term?
Yeah.
Okay.
Contradictory view.
Contradictory, okay.
Yeah, contrarian, yeah.
And that is, don't bite off more than you can chew. And when you had mentioned it to me, you kind of, like you said, took it in a different way than I would have thought.
Yep.
So what are your thoughts on the phrase, don't bite off more than you can chew?
Well, I think you should be always biting off more than you can chew. Big surprise. So I think when I hear that phrase, I think of 2 different avenues. I think of comfort. To me, when somebody says, don't bite off more than you can chew, or you maybe have too much on your plate, right? Kind of these both food analogy type of things. That means, to me, don't do more than you can handle at one time. Make sure you're comfortable. Make sure you can complete everything. Those types of kind of like boundaries, and I think of them as boundaries. You're setting yourself up in a box. Where I think we need to be personally and professionally, and certainly for business, is I think we literally, what they use another food now, we need to be taking the biggest bites we can humanly possibly take at all times. Because I think the analogy I gave you yesterday is if, on a daily basis, if you think you can do 6 tasks, right? Whatever it is, wherever you work, it doesn't matter. But, 6 tasks at an hour each, you take some lunch, you catch up on things. This is kind of like my production for a day, right? You're going to get real comfortable and real good at doing those 6 tasks. But if you only did 6 tasks for the next 5 years, you're not getting any better. You're not growing. You're not doing any more. And maybe you're doing those 6 tasks to 100%, right? So we'll assign each of them a value of 100. You're doing 600 points on a day. I would challenge you and say, take 10 tasks or take that bigger bite, take on more that you can chew, and you're probably going to do those 10 things at maybe about 80%, right? Because you can't achieve everything 100% all the time. Additionally, the more that you do, you're going to have to dividing your time and your energy and your brain power. But what adds up to more, Kyle? 6 at 100 or 10 at 80?
Let's do some quick mental math here. 10 at 80, 6 at 100. Yeah. 10 at 80.
10 at 80. So you're actually going to be getting more done.
Yep.
Also, I think the philosophy of a couple things, we're going to say like how you grow and how you manage those tasks, I think are 2 different things, right? If we have the 6 tasks and you put your head down and you do them every day, That's great. When you increase 6 to 10, what it's going to force you to do is really truly prioritize which of those 10 are more important. So here's what I would tell you is actually going to happen. Again, you can do 6 all by yourself. You now have 10 on your plate. What you're going to end up doing is picking 6 of the 10 that are the most important things to do. Either high value, high leverage, maybe you just get more enjoyment out of them, whatever it is. You're going to pick the 6 most important things to you. And what do you think is going to happen to the other 4? There's a couple scenarios. What do you think can happen to the other 4?
Well, I think we kind of talked about it yesterday. Is one, they could just fall by the wayside.
Yep, they
Those
can just
4
get
tasks,
left in the dust.
maybe they're unnecessary, just kind of.
And I would tell you, if they did get left in the dust, they probably weren't that important.
Yeah, definitely.
So I would say now you're doing tasks that really maybe don't have any true value, or whether you do them today or tomorrow, it's almost insignificant, right? Just regular everyday stuff.
And then you mentioned delegating those tasks.
Yes.
And that's one big thing
Bingo.
you went on about for a little bit.
Yep. So I think, again, you do 6, now we got 10. You're going to probably pick the most 6 that are important. The other 4, I think what you're going to probably end up doing is either asking for help. If let's just take in your personal life, if there's 10 things you need to do and you've got 4, you're probably going to ask your roommates to help with those other 4. Or you're going to, in the business world, you're going to delegate those other 4.
Yep.
I'm going to say, hey, Kyle, I need your help with a couple of things. Can you follow up on these 2? Can you make that spreadsheet for me? Could you write this and email this to the customer? And usually I'm like, yeah, okay, no big deal. So you're actually going to end up prioritizing and learning how to delegate better, or more importantly, ask for help. You don't have to just have somebody else do your work. If you have somebody to help you with that task, maybe you can split it up into 50% me, 50% somebody else. Maybe somebody else knows how to do it quicker, easier, better. But you're now all of a sudden doing more than you were. So again, 60, 6, 10 times 8 is 80. You just increase your production value.
Yeah.
All right? And then another way to do it is to push yourself. Okay? If we're just doing the same thing every day, you're never going to get any better. You are never going to get better at what you do. And so the analogy I use is maybe running, which I do not do, by the way. Despise running. But if you just ran 1 mile every day, it's great for you, right? You get the blood pumping, you get a little sweat, cardiovascular, right? Running is phenomenal. We know it's great for you. But if you ran just 1 mile every day, after 100 days, that 1 mile is like me and you walking to our car. It's actually not even doing anything for your body. You're so acclimated to it. You can probably run a mile 5 minutes at that time, just bang it out. It's almost doing no physical benefit to you. But if you use that mile as a benchmark and say, I'm going to do 1 mile this week and 2 miles next week and 3 miles the week after, all of a sudden you're building up, and now you're at 10 miles. And then when you get comfortable with the 10, it's going to become second nature. You're going to say, I used to run a mile a day. Now I can run 10 miles in 50 minutes, no problem at all. So the only way you're doing that is by biting off more miles than you can chew. Because the first time you go from 1 to 2 miles, you are exhausted, right? Your body's aching, you're tired, you're winded. Your speed from mile 1 might be 5 minutes, and mile 2 might be 10. You're not as productive. Right? My second mile sucked. It was slow. But guess what? You're going to get acclimated to that. Your body adjusts. The same thing with taking on tasks in your personal or work life. The 10, what was 6 tasks and now becomes 10. When you do 10 for a period of time, the 10 are going to become normal. Or it's going to become normal to prioritize and delegate. And all of a sudden, on a daily basis, I'm banging out these 10 things like it's nothing.
Like it's
the
autonomous.
6 was a big deal at one time. Now I can't imagine going back to 6. I would do the 6 and I'd sit here and twiddle my thumbs all day. So to me, that's where I completely disagree with not biting off more than you can chew. Because the only way to go from 6 tasks to 10 tasks or 1 mile to 2 is technically biting off more than you can chew. Nobody in any walk of life, in any profession or personal life, can handle that jump. I always like to say, if you already knew how to do it, or if you already could handle it, if you already knew how to manage 10 tasks opposed to 6, or if you already knew how to run 2 miles opposed to 1, you would already be doing it.
Yep.
So at that point in time, everybody is going to feel the angst or the confusion or the frustration on how to manage that. Or, hey, I'm basically walking that last half a mile. Everybody feels that way. But the only way to do it is to push yourself and to take off more than you can chew. I hope you're enjoying this episode of the Royal Flush Podcast, and I just want to take a minute to explain to you the importance of a camera inspection and how it works within what we do here at Royal Flush. If you've ever wondered what's going on inside your underground sewer line, we have the technology to do just that. If you've ever experienced a slow drain, God forbid a backup, and God forbid any sewage coming into your home, we at Royal Flush have state-of-the-art camera equipment to take a look down your pipe to diagnose the problem and understand better what's going on. The analogy I like to use is going to the doctor for a broken bone. A doctor would never prescribe any medicine or certainly give you a cast without doing an x-ray on your bone to understand if it's broken. The camera inspection is going to do the same exact thing. That's going to allow us to look inside the pipe, diagnose and inspect what's going on, and from there offer you a solution. I have an exclusive offer for you. If you mention this Royal Flush Podcast, we'll offer you the camera inspection free of charge. Enjoy the rest of the episode. Hope you like it.
I think the overlying theme is basically kind of push your boundaries. You know, see how far out you can get, how much you can maximize. And we've talked about it before on previous episodes, how you can maximize X units of time.
Yep.
How can you fit as much as possible into, you know, an hour, a day,
Yep.
a week. And I think taking that, you know, gradual step, you know, one foot at a time, kind of delving into, well, let's see if I can do more.
Yep.
Let's see if I can do more. And then sooner or later, you start to realize you're just packing all these, whether it's activities or responsibilities, that you're packing all into one unit of time.
Yeah.
But you had mentioned earlier, take the biggest bites you can. I would almost argue you kind of, like I said, take that one tiny step and you take another tiny step. And then, like you said on a previous episode, I feel like a lot of these topics are starting to relate. But like you said on a previous episode, you start to put together that 1%. And then you stack that 1%.
Yep.
And then that 1% becomes 1%.
And it'd make a huge difference.
And then you look up and you've been pushing your boundaries for 6 months now, and you've 10x'd. You know, but yeah, I think the overall theme is kind of just get uncomfortable, push your boundaries, and just get comfortable with getting uncomfortable.
Comfort is killer, Kyle.
Yep.
Comfort is killer. The more comfortable we are on a day-to-day basis, the worse we are as people.
100%.
That's it is the craziest thing. So we're always like achieving, trying to I want to get to a comfortable place personally. I want to be in harmony with my relationships and my family. I want to be comfortable. I want to be comfortable at work. But the second you are, that's the worst place to be.
I agree.
Because we're human, you're going to get lazy, and it's going to get easy, and you're going to get distracted, and it's the craziest thing in the world. You're striving to get to that point, and then when you're there, human nature makes you fall back down again.
So actually, I don't know if I've ever talked to you about this. Sometimes I read, which is weird.
I hate reading.
It's a new habit of mine this year. But one of the books I was reading is called Atomic Habits.
I've heard of it.
You've heard of it?
I like listening instead of reading.
That's fair. It's definitely way easier. You still take in the information. But one of the quotes in it is, "You don't rise to your goals, you fall to your systems."
That's pretty good.
Yeah. So basically, it kind of goes hand in hand with getting comfortable. You'll fall down to whatever your baseline kind of standard is.
Yep.
But pushing that boundary, getting in the habit of pushing that boundary, your standard slowly starts to rise.
Yep.
And, I might, wake up tomorrow and say, I want to be a billionaire. But the goal doesn't get achieved unless, your day-to-day habits change.
Yep. And you're continuing to raise the floor.
Yep.
Right?
So the more you can push your boundaries and maximize your time and bite off more than you can chew, the more you realize, one, it's possible to get all these things done. And then two, your floor, for lack of a better term, starts to, come up a little higher. And you fall to your systems, but instead of falling down here, you're falling up here.
Yeah, your floor
and
is higher.
it's your baseline.
Kyle, let's go off on a tangent about reading, okay?
Okay,
I was talking to maybe my sister or my mother the other day. So, this is sound crazy. I do not enjoy reading,
I don't blame you.
okay? And it definitely started with something as a little kid. I don't think in my lifetime there's ever been one book, fiction, nonfiction, whatever it is, that I've ever been engrossed in that I feel like I have to turn the next page.
Okay.
Okay. And so when I talk to people who read, my wife reads, my sister, my mother, women I know who read. I don't know men who read. They tell me the feeling and the sensation of being so engrossed in the book that you can picture and visualize all the characters and that you cannot wait to get to that next page. And the time becomes insignificant. You have no idea how long you've been reading. You're reading usually quickly, but you can get engrossed in something for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours and feel like you're living in a virtual movie on paper. This is what it's been described to me as people who get engrossed in a book. I have never experienced that one time in my life. Now, the odd thing is I love to consume information.
Yeah.
I really, really enjoy it. But I realized for some reason for me, the physical aspect of a book is extremely daunting to me. It's like climbing Mount Everest. The front and the back cover in the 385 pages might as well be me on Mount Everest in shorts and a t-shirt with no food or water. But an article or a video or a short something, I will probably bang out just as many, if not more, quantity of pages and information on a book. Or certainly a podcast. I love listening to podcasts.
Yep.
So I don't know. I guess that's how I'm wired. But I cannot, or it could be the most interesting topic, or I could listen or watch something on a topic for 15 hours. And all that information can be put down in a written word. I will not read the book. I will not read it. And I will not get out of it as much reading it as I will reading a short story, listening to it, or visually watching it. And that is something that I wish I liked reading, but I don't. It doesn't do it for me.
So I kind of, like you said, almost like podcasts. I don't read like fiction, any of that, like stories or anything. Like I like reading nonfiction books. Like it's a different perspective, a different way to look at things. Almost like podcasts. You listen to it because you're taking in information. It might be stuff you already know, but it's a different perspective of things. So those are the type of books I like to read, and I could easily just go pull up a YouTube video or watch a podcast about the same general topic. I feel like it helps my focus a little bit. Like I haven't read too much lately, but like when I'm reading it, I feel like I'm almost forced to dial into the words on the page. But yeah, like nonfiction stuff. Like I just like to read about general topics from a different perspective. Well, especially someone who I would assume is much smarter than me. So, yeah.
When we had Ryan Resendiz on from the restaurant and he told us that he has ADHD, I was like, I think I might have it. In a very different way. I think like you talk about you're forced to focus. Me sitting there with the book, I can never get focused on it. I can never get engrossed on it. But now I can get engrossed in a million other things, other topics, activities, hobbies, things I have to do. I can get engrossed in that, but I cannot get engrossed in the words on paper. And I don't know why, but I mean, I'm okay with it, but it's just something that really is, I'm getting older. I'm like starting to get a little perspective on it. It's like, I don't know. It's not like, this is going to sound like silly. Reading isn't for me.
Yeah, I hear you. I think you just got to find one that you like.
See, I still haven't found one that it's ever had that effect on me.
That's fair.
So I'm just going to continue to consume my information in other ways.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean,
just not physically get it from a book.
Still consuming the same information.
Exactly, just in a different way.
Yeah. I mean, phrase I like to say, and I can leave this out if you want me to, but different strokes for different folks.
That's true. Everybody gets it differently. All right, let's just dive back into the bite.
Yep.
I think of the old saying too. Another saying is how do you eat a whale? How would one eat a whale?
Is that rhetorical or
no? Physically, if you had to eat a whale,
small,
one bite at a time.
Yeah.
That's how you eat a whale, right? And so It's continuing to take, I would say, one big bite. Keep taking big bites more than you can chew. You're going to figure out how to chew the whale, and you keep going at it. And maybe today was 6 bites and tomorrow's 10 bites, right? And you just, I think of really in business, right? If we're going to wrap this back up to what we do and what we hear, and like kind of maybe our main goal for this podcast is how can we relate these topics to business and what we do every day? We cannot be comfortable in what we're doing because guess what? We're not going to grow.
Yeah.
Right? You are never going to get better if you just do the 6 tasks every day and you're like, I'm really great at these. You're just going to hit the ceiling. We want to raise the floor.
Yep.
The ceiling is not even there. We just want to continue to raise the floor. And you got to take more tasks. You got to delegate more. You got to figure out how to do more things, and you're going to get better and better and better and better at it. And you're going to look back and like, I used to do 6 things a day. You kidding me? That's chump change. I do 6 things, but by the time 9 o'clock when I drink my coffee and go to the bathroom, like this is nothing.
Yep.
Right? How do I do more things on a daily basis? And we talked about, I think one of the bigger challenges for a small business. If Jim was here, I would say this to him, and he would say it to us.
Yeah.
These are massive time suck. Email is the biggest time suck in today's world.
Interesting.
Just responding back and forth to people. Yep, I
Yeah.
got it. Okay, let's meet next Tuesday at 1. 1 doesn't work for me. Can we do 2? Let me check my calendar. Nope, let's do 3. Okay, it's all set for 3 o'clock. Cool. Here's the things. Okay, great. That was just 25 minutes back and forth. No actual work was done.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like it's at least 20 minutes
Yep.
of interactions that in person take all of 10 seconds,
Yep.
15 seconds. So,
And
I
you
mean, when
know
you
why?
multiply that,
Because email is easy.
well, quote unquote easy, I'd say.
But it's also easy to look and to be busy when you're emailing. Email is the entry level engrossment of any job, of any profession, of any career.
Okay. Now, what do you mean by that?
So let's just say, we're in a corporate environment, and this is the boss. Hey Cal, what's up, man? No, everything's great, boss. How are you? Just diving into my emails, responding to all my. Oh, okay, great.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's a very low level task that's easy to dive into and to fill up time and to be busy.
Yeah. Okay, so the epitome of a time suck.
Yep, it's the epitome of a time suck. It's easy to be busy. You know what I mean? Oh man, I got 100 emails to respond to, and all of a sudden you dive in and you get engrossed in it. But did you actually those 100, 10 are important, right? 10's an appointment with a potential customer.
Yep.
I had to adjust the price and I'm closing a deal and we're having a call tomorrow. Like those are productive emails.
Yep.
The rest is just
Just kind of
just junk.
just throwing words around.
Right,
on,
just
on
literal
a
junk.
screen.
And again, we don't work there, but it's like, you're emailing Susie, who's on the 14 steps away.
Yeah.
You'd be like,
Oh, okay.
Susie, can we set that meeting up for Wednesday next week, 12 o'clock? She'd be like, yeah, that works. Okay, great, thanks.
Yeah.
It would probably take 10 minutes to email back and forth.
When you're 100 feet away.
Yep, just go talk to the person. So that's another, in my opinion, massive, unproductive. I'm only biting off one. Oh, I'm busy all day doing emails. Like those are low-level tasks.
Definitely.
Super low-level tasks. You got to prioritize the tasks that you have, do those first, and you realize that maybe you can get back to the email in 3 days. It's not that big a deal.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of it has to do with prioritizing things. Have a good sense of what's important in the first place.
Yeah.
If, let's say I have 10 tasks, and I'm like, I'm only going to do 6 today. It's a matter of, should I do the easy 6 tasks or should I do the most important 6 tasks? And I feel like it's a lot of prioritizing too.
You do the hardest one first every day.
Hardest
If you had a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the hardest tasks, you do 10s first. Your first thing in the day, you do the 10 because it's only going to get easier from there.
So, funny story, weirdly related. Growing up, that's how my mom taught me to do homework. You always do the hardest one first. You get that out of the way, and then it's smooth sailing.
Because then you have the build up. So I think of here, maybe I have to have a tough conversation with a customer about money. Or reply to somebody or there's a disagreement or a conflict, right? Those are tough things, right? Maybe I've thought about the night before. Why am I going to make that call at 2:30 and mentally, whether I realize or not, probably dwell on it the whole day?
Yeah.
I'm going to get in. I'm going to get that tough conversation out of the way. Now, it might not always go the way that I want. Maybe it's terrible, and I was like, oh, boy, I lost that deal, or that didn't go the way I want, or that person's pissed at me.
Yeah.
But guess what? I got it out of the way. Everything from there is going to be easier.
I think it's just about assessing what needs to be done.
Yep.
And kind of coming up with a plan and a reason for why you're doing it in this.
Do the high-level, tough tasks first. Everything else becomes easier.
Definitely.
All right, let's wrap it up, Kyle. Always bite off more than you can chew.
Definitely.
Because you only spit some out. It's not that big a deal.
So actually, you mentioned at the beginning, taking the biggest bite possible.
With those cheeks full.
Do you think genuinely take one huge step or gradual steps?
I think it depends
Over
on what
time.
you're doing, your specific situation.
Okay.
I would tell you, in my big thought, if you take a big boy bite, you're going to be able to figure it out. You're going to figure it out.
Like almost like a fight or flight.
Yep. Take a huge gargantuan bite of 10 things. You probably realize that the 4 at the bottom don't really matter, and you're going to actually only end up taking a regular size bite, which is 6.
Okay, yeah, that's
Right?
fair.
That's how I would say it. Now, there's certain situations where maybe we'll phrase this the Pac-Man effect. Just keep taking
just one at a time.
little baby small bites and keep going, never stop, right?
Yep.
That's certainly depending on, I would say, maybe a situation or a task or a business or whatever you're in. That might be the more appropriate approach. But to me, dive in, take a big bite. You're going to figure it out. You're going to focus on the more important things, delegate or get rid of the stuff at the bottom that doesn't matter. And then you're like, oh, actually, I handled that pretty good. Let me take another big bite and another big bite and another big bite and another big bite. And all of a sudden, you're eating that whale one bite at a time. And you're like, look at all the stuff that I've accomplished.
Yeah. It's about kind of realizing it's possible is really the thing in that. Is you take the big bite that might seem intimidating, but then you realize it's possible and it's, oh, well, let me take another one, and you get in the habit of doing more at a time and all that. Anything else you want to add?
No, I think we should end it right there.
I love it.
Let's wrap it up. Take big bites, challenge yourself, focus on what you're doing. I think everybody out there can achieve more. And so I hope you like this episode. This is maybe the second or third one we've kind of done on these traditional catchphrases or sayings. And Kyle and I are going to dig into more. I think these are cool topics for us to talk about. Our personal opinions, how it relates to us at Royal Flush, and maybe how we can push each other to do more things and be contradictory to these traditional old sayings, which I think I usually take a contradictory approach to most things. So stay tuned for more of these. We appreciate it. Hope you love the Royal Flush podcast. We'll catch you next time.